Morning everybody, this is Stephen Pugh of the Home Bible College. My password for today, for April the 12th and John chapter 2, is found in verse 7, where the Lord Jesus says to the servants of the household where the marriage of Cana is taking place. He says, "Fill the water pots with water." Fill the water pots with water. There were 6 stone jars there, which were used for the Jews for their ceremonial purification rituals, and the jars presumably were empty. We might say, were the Jews careless at this time? I don't think so, no. I think that this was because there was a wedding. And everybody was at the wedding, and the wedding had commenced, the ceremony had commenced, and now they were at the stage of the feastings. So because there had been a lot of people invited to the wedding, a lot of the Jews had used the facilities that were available in Cana of Galilee. They'd used all the facilities to wash themselves and to make themselves fit in a state so that they might have social interaction, and also that they might have a fit state whereby they could come before their covenant God and worship him. That's the point. We don't have a similar thing in our Christian churches. We don't have in Christianity, there's nothing to do with our being clean in a physical sense, in the same way as they did under the old covenant. And so we might ask, why did the Lord Jesus say, fill the water pots with water? Well, the answer, of course, is because the jars were empty, or at least very much depleted. So they went to the well, the servants went to the well, and they took up water from the well, and they filled up the water pots to the very brim. Okay, and this gives us a very, very important lesson. God is interested in the cleanliness of his people. And yes, they're at a wedding and they're short of wine and they want to have a happy time. They want to be rejoicing. They want to be a little bit merry in their rejoicing. Nothing wrong with that. But in their rejoicings, they need to not forget to be holy. They need to not forget being clean. And then the Lord Jesus in the next verse says something very interesting. He says, draw out now, water that is, and bear it to the chief guest. Now that phrase, draw out, it can mean a number of different things, but one of the things that it can mean is to let down a bucket into a well. And now if that's the case, and if that's what the phrase is actually meaning, then it has some wonderful implications. Because what that means is that when they put the bucket down into the well and they took the water out, now don't forget, they don't need to put it into the stone jars anymore because the 6 stone jars were full. That was fine. That was all in preparation for the miracle that's now going to take place. So they let down the bucket into the well and they take out the water and they take it to the chief guest, which probably would have been the father of the bride. Take it to the chief guest and he tastes it and he calls the chief sort of person of the ceremony, and he says, come here, I want to talk to you. And I expect that man is wondering whether he's going to get some insults. Fancy offering him some water at this stage of a feast. But he gets a bit of a surprise. He says, most people keep the best wine to the end. And then he doesn't say, but you've offered me water at the end. What he says, but you've kept the best wine to the end. And so what had happened, and I think this is what happened, it's a perfectly reasonable thing to think, I think that the Lord Jesus had turned the water in the well into wine. And there would be an unlimited supply of that wine until the end of the feast. It might be a 7-day feast. And then presumably at a later date the well turns back into ordinary water again. Now, if that's the case, wow, what an amazing miracle that is. But what's even more interesting is that the 6 stone water jars stood there as sentinels for the holiness of Israel. You see, God is interested in us being happy. It's good to have the joy of the Lord. But he's also interested in us being holy. And holiness comes first. Of course, if the Lord Jesus turns the water in the well to wine, then how are the Jews going to cleanse themselves if the water in the well is wine? You can't cleanse yourself in wine. And so that's why they filled the 6 stone water jars full of water. There was going to be all enough water for everybody to keep themselves clean before the Lord all through the wedding. But there will also be an unlimited supply of wine, that they might have the full joy of the Lord in all that they did. God bless you. Great to talk to you, and look forward to talking to you again tomorrow. Bye for now. Bye.